I still remember the exact moment my friends started laughing, the kind of laughter that comes with secret glances and half-hidden phones. When they told me I had been set up on a blind date, and I remember thinking it was harmless, even exciting, because at 27, single in a city full of people yet somehow lonely, any chance at connection felt like hope. They showed me a name, not a photo, and promised she was interesting, which should have been my first clue, but I agreed anyway, imagining the usual awkward dinner that would end with polite smiles and separate checks. When I walked into the cafe that evening, scanning faces the way everyone does, my eyes landed on her almost instantly. Not because she was the most beautiful woman in the room, but because she was the one trying hardest not to be seen, sitting by the window with her head slightly turned, hair falling forward as if to shield something precious or painful. As I approached, she looked up, and I froze. Her face bore the unmistakable marks of severe burns, pink and silver scars tracing her cheek, jaw, and neck, skin textured and uneven, in a way that made my heart jolt with surprise before my mind could catch up. I realized then what my friends had done, and shame burned hotter than embarrassment, because my first instinct wasn't compassion, it was fear of my own reaction. She saw it too, that split-second flicker in my eyes, and she gave a small, practiced smile, the kind worn by people who have learned to brace themselves for disappointment. "You must be Ethan," she said gently, standing up. "I'm Lily." I sat down because leaving would have been cruel, and staying felt like the only decent choice, though part of me resented being forced into decency. We talked about simple things at first: work, the city, coffee preferences, and I noticed how careful she was with pauses, as if allowing me time to adjust, to decide whether I could handle looking at her. Halfway through the date, my phone buzzed with a message from my friends, so I didn't reply. Lily followed my gaze and exhaled softly. "They didn't tell you, did they?" she asked. I shook my head, unsure what to say. She nodded, unsurprised. "It's okay. People think they're doing a good thing, forcing exposure, like ripping off a bandage." She stirred her drink, then looked straight at me, eyes steady and warm. "Can I ask you something?" I nodded again. "Is appearance really that important?" The question hit harder than any accusation. I wanted to give a noble answer, but honesty tangled my throat. She didn't wait. "I wasn't always like this," she said calmly. "House fire. I was 16. I survived, which everyone called a miracle, but miracles come with a price." She told me about surgeries, mirrors she avoided, strangers who stared, dates that never happened, and the exhaustion of constantly proving she was more than what people saw first. Somewhere between her words and her quiet resilience, something shifted in me. I stopped seeing scars and started seeing strength. When the check came, I offered to pay, not out of obligation, but because I wanted to extend the moment. Outside, under the streetlights, she hesitated. "You don't have to see me again," she said softly. "I know this wasn't what you signed up for." I surprised myself by answering immediately. "I'd like to," I said, and meant it. Over the next weeks we met again and again. Walks in the park, late-night diners, long conversations about dreams and fears, and I began to notice how people reacted to us together. Some stared openly, some whispered, some smiled with pity, others with admiration. Each time, Lily held her head high, and I found myself doing the same, protective not because she was weak, but because she was brave enough to exist unapologetically in a world that could be unkind. One night, after a particularly rough encounter with a stranger who muttered something cruel under his breath, Lily stopped and laughed softly. "You know," she said, "I used to wish I could be invisible. Now I realize I'm impossible to ignore. That's power." That was the moment I understood the unexpected gift she had given me, not just love, but clarity. At the emotional peak of our story came months later, when she invited me to a burn survivors fundraiser where she was scheduled to speak. Standing backstage, her hands trembled, and for the first time, I saw fear crack her armor. "What if they only see this?" she whispered, gesturing to her face. I took her hands and said the truth I had learned from her. They'll see someone who survived, someone who teaches others how to look deeper. When she stepped onto that stage and told her story, the room fell silent, then rose in a standing ovation that felt like a collective apology and promise. Tears streamed down my face, not because of sadness, but because love had expanded my understanding of beauty beyond anything I had known. Years later, when people ask how we met, I sometimes smile at the irony of the word tricked, because what began as a cruel joke became the greatest lesson of my life. Lily taught me that appearance may catch the eye, but character captures the soul, and compassion transforms both the giver and the receiver. In a world obsessed with surfaces, she showed me the profound power of seeing and loving what lies beneath, leaving me, and anyone who hears our story, with hope that humanity is still capable of choosing kindness over judgment.